this presentation.
So we're going to host our last speaker for today. It's Christophe Saurin, head of the Regional Nature Reserve and also head of research program in Lac de Grand-Lieu. He's going to tell us about the population monitoring and survey of the common pochard in the Grand-Lieu lake. Thank you very much. As you said, I'm just a technician, I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to get into details, but as what we do in our daily basis in our reserve work, we help scientists, and we also have to make decisions as managers. So I work with Alain Kayser, scientist specialist of common pochard. He's in charge of this common pochard species, and he has an issue, a more international issue. So I want to know what kind of species, what kind of view we can bring you to the matter. So we are carrying out a study on this area in the Lac de Grand-Lieu. It's interesting because it is an area where we have important numbers of common pochard. It is a species that works in wetland, and it declined because of there are declining wetlands all over the world. The common pochard, if we look at the statistics by wetland, it decreased its population by half in the past few years. So we need to understand why. Is it a real decline, or is there something else happening? Are we missing some of them? Are they hidden somewhere? We need to understand more about this species at the international level. As managers, we need to understand where do breeding individuals come. We need to understand where do they go, and we need to understand if there are changes in habitat quality or management actions. Are they suitable for the long-term survival of pochard populations? So we need to understand all of that because we are managers of an area. What's complicated about the pochard is that there is an overlapping between the wintering area and breeding area. If we look at this big potato here, the big red area, so the blue countries on the map, we can see wintering area and breeding area. On the green area we have breeders, and in the yellow area we have winter visitors. So we are overlapping. Let's say we have two types of migrants coming to our area, breedings and wintering visitors. We also find it difficult to assess the underlying causes of seasonal changes in numbers. We count individuals in Grand-Lieu. Maybe you saw them in the previous presentation. There are two reserves on the lake, but the global management, so we have two reserves. We work together on counting operations to have a better idea, a closer idea of the population number. And we can see that it changes a lot throughout the season. We don't understand where they come from and where they go. So we have started this system in 2004 to try to understand it better. So we have censuses, regular censuses in Grand-Lieu, especially in the wintering period when birds are on the lake, but also by CR, sea capture, mark recapture, CMR, sorry, to understand where they go in Europe, basically. And we try to study the data that we get thanks to the system, and studying also the habitat on the Grand-Lieu lake. It would be also interesting to understand where they live, if the habitats are well suited to their life and to reproduction. To do so, because it's complicated to go and capture pochards everywhere in Europe, we find it difficult. So we capture the pochards on the breeding area in Lac de Grand-Lieu. It's a third of the French population that breeds on this area. It is a key major site on this area. So we capture the female pochards, we equip them, we mark them with a nasal mark, and we also sample one feather to look at the isotopic to run isotopic analysis. If we look at the birds that were captured and marked, we can see that we have over 18,000 occurrences everywhere in Europe. Every dot on the map are places where birds have been seen in Europe. We will be able to know exactly where they go, where they're going to for wintering, to breed as well for some of them. In proposed breeding movements for this species, we observed that the birds mostly go to the UK, to Portugal, and some of them are erratic, so they go in France, in other places in France. We see that the population of pochard moves quite a lot. 80% about of them are captured and are seen again in the lake. Post-breeding movements, so after reproduction, we have different situations. We have birds that are going in one direction and they come back to the lake. We have birds that explore, so they stay in a close-by region in France, but they would go from one side to another. They are going to other lakes in France. Mostly in the winter they're going to go to the Alps. It's a bit of a paradox, but we can see the birds going to the Lac de Bourget or Lac Clément in the winter. So it's quite erratic for this species. And we also have birds that go to other sites and come back. Now, movements during the wintering season, if we look at the census we do every year, we can see that every month we count a number of birds, but we don't know exactly how many birds come to the lake or live in the lake. We don't know the impact of the turnover. And with this capture and recapture system, we have an idea today. We realize that there are twice as many birds in the Lac de Grand-Lieu than the birds we can count. Now, interseasonal movements. So for the wintering population, we know that we have part of our breeders. That's what we thought, but we also have birds that come from elsewhere to spend the winter in the Grand-Lieu. Something that we need.